You know I'm like on cloud nine right now, right? I know I have to project because I'm outside, but yeah, I'm on cloud nine right now. So, yeah, I like my little thing, right? We went to see meet Kenny took me to meet his family for and they had a family reunion type thing, and that was cool. Like I got to meet his family. They showed me so much love, and his sister taught me how to rap because I have my braids and stuff. But sometimes you wanna, if you gotta run to the store real quick, or you know, you just don't feel like doing your hair or whatever, you can put one of these on. So anyway, that was a beautiful, beautiful experience. Like it was really, really, really nice. And I think the most magnificent part, other than his family was beautiful. They treated me with so much love. You know what I'm saying? So much love. So, so, so much love. So I see where he gets his love from because of, the love that his family, that's his family, that's his makeup. So anyway, the most beautiful part of the trip for me was that sunset. I am not lying, and I'm so sorry, y'all. I know I talked through the whole thing, but I was just so like, wow, because I had never, ever witnessed the beauty and the beauty of seeing the sunrise. Like, good morning, Alonda. I had never seen that before, and so I thought, we woke up early, and I'm like, well, come on, so we can do this, that, the other. And he was just like, well, come on. He didn't tell me he was taking me to the beach. I did not know that. So we got up, and then was like, okay, and then he was like, we're going to go this way. We're going to go that way. And I was like, oh, snap, that's the beach. He was like, yeah. He was like, let's get out for a second. He said, because the sun's going to be rising. And I'm like, oh, okay. So, I'm game for anything about water. Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Bruner. William Bruner. You and I went to high school together. And he was my prom date. I've been talking about you over the years, William. But, I let that go. Cool guy. William's a cool guy. So, I had never witnessed the beauty. And it really, like this morning, I didn't wake up with the intention of doing a live. But this morning when I woke up, I just thought about the beauty. Like, when we came, it was dusk, and the waves was just going crazy. I'm just like, and there were people on the beach, and there was a surfer on the beach. And I actually watched him. And I was just like, I don't know how y'all do it. Kenny's brother-in-law told us that the movie Jaws was a real story, was real, and it really happened at the Jersey Shore. I didn't know that, so I'm just like, y'all brave. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no way in the world I'm getting up there knowing that there's some whales, some sharks, some jaws out there. But he got up there, he was surfing them away. He was going. I was trying to catch him, and when he finally got up on a wave, I think I caught it on camera. And I'm so sorry I talked through all of that, the rising of the sun. In fact, when I went back to listen to myself, I'm like, Patricia, shut up. I muted myself just so I could watch it because it was so magnificent. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Maxine. Good morning, Laura. Oh, thank you. You're so sweet. So I'm sitting here this morning, I'm just thinking, like it was so magnificent to me that I'm still thinking about it. And it really brought me to tears this morning because I'm like, Kenny was like, the sun is going to rise today at 6:10. And I'm just like, whoa, because I guess they report every day when it's going to rise. And I was laughing with him, and I was just like, well, I hope he ain't going to be late. The sun ain't going to be late, whatever, a little joke. So anyway, good morning, Leona. So I'm sitting here watching this, and I see the first light just break through. and then it's slowly just coming up, and as it's coming up, the whole atmosphere is just like lightning. I can't even. You have to look at it. You literally have to look at it to be able to mute mute me, cause I just be talking. Mute when you go to my page and you see that video. Mute me, cause I'm just talking. That's my nervousness. Just talking like, oh God, wow, whoa, mute me, and just watch the rising. God is amazing, everything around us. Every morning he shows his love. When we open our eyes every morning, he allows the sun to rise, and he allows everything on earth to keep on, even though we're going through our own thing as a people, as a human race. God never stops the sun from rising, or the sun from going down and the moon from coming up. He's always lightning. There's always oxygen. There's always food. He never stops. And God's timing is perfect timing. And when I thought about it, the whole thing amazed me, because I'm one of them deep thinkers. So I remember, I hadn't left Columbus yet, so it must have been around 2002, maybe 2002. I had lived in Atlanta, but I had moved back to Columbus, and and I had gotten remarried to my ex-husband, and so we were. I think at this point we had separated again for the final time, and I think I was staying with my mom, in between that transition or something. I was staying with my mom before I went back to Atlanta. So anyway, when I had moved back to Columbus, it was after being in Atlanta for that year, because I was in Atlanta for a year first, and then I moved back to Columbus. And it was then that I decided that I wanted to sing. I had been so stage fright for my whole freaking life, y'all. Like, I would literally, when talent shows would come, I was gripped in fear, and I would never ever try out. I would just sit there and fantasize. I would just sit there and watch them and be like wanting to get up there so bad, but my self-esteem was so freaking low. I was so freaking afraid. Hey, Lee Knox said he can understand. Lee Knox was on the show just recently, on the movie Unscripted. Lee Knox, you understand? Oh, Lee, I was gripped in fear, like literally gripped in fear all my life. And I remember specifically, I was at Sherwood Middle School, and they were having one of their talent shows. And what was her name? It was a popular. She was so freaking pop. She was popular. She was beautiful. She could sing like a freaking bluebird. And she ended up going on to be in one of Spike Lee's what's the one he did with the School Days? She ended up being in the musical part of School Days, but she was just so freaking beautiful. Lee Knox said, confused me how others could overcome what I felt I couldn't at that time. You understand? I was gripped in fear, Lee. Like, literally gripped in fear. Gripped in fear. And I would just watch. And I remember in Sherwood watching this young lady who was so confident. Like, she just kept there. She was beautiful. She was popular. She could sing. And I was just like, and here I am sitting back there. And I remember that moment, at that exact moment, I remember praying. I remember asking God, one day, when I grow up, I want to be a singer. I want to be a superstar singer. I remember saying that. Like, that was, singing has always been in me, but I was just frightened as hell. So anyway, I remember that little girl, and I remember that little prayer, right? Middle school. So anyway, years go on, many more opportunities to perform, but I could never do it. I could never do it. Even Central State. We had the Bomb Diggity Talent Show. My co-host Brian Love talks about it. The biggest talent show ever. Love you, girl. Rock it out, rock it out, rock it out, rock it out. Thank you, Jermaine. The biggest talent show ever, Central State University. It's a historically black college here in Ohio, in Xenia, Ohio, right down the street from Wilberforce. So we had the biggest freaking talent show. Everybody. And I know that was my opportunity. So I'm standing in front of my friends and we're talking about how we're going to do the men are pause. You remember that? When they walk into the room. You remember that, right? Good morning, Desiree. That's my niece, Desiree. Good morning, boo-boo. So, I'm sorry. So, we was getting ready for that. And I was like, you know what? I want to sing. I just burst out. You know, I was just telling them. I said, I want to sing Anita Baker's You're My Angel. So they looked at me. They was like, can you sing? I'm like, yeah, I can sing. And when I started singing, they all just stared at me. And because they just stared at me, okay, Laura, I remember saying, Laura, do you remember the talent show that we had? What was that young lady's name? She was a black female. She was very popular in Sherwood. She always did the talent shows. I cannot think, her name is on the tip of my tongue. She was so beautiful and talented, and she went on to be in School Days. I don't know if you remember that. I don't know if you remember that, but yeah. So anyway, they just stared at me, and I took their staring and the look as to say that I sounded horrible. So once again, I didn't do it. Fast forward some years, you know, I went to Atlanta, which is where I really first started writing. I wrote the poem, This Can't Be Love, which ended up turning into a book that I ended up turning into a movie with the help of a lot of wonderful people. But it was then that I had wrote my poetry. And I took the poetry home, and I chose 3 songs from that poetry. Situations, Thinking Back, and Faith. Those were the 3 songs that I chose. You know, Faith is actually old. These songs are old. I just never released them. So, when I got home and I told my ex, when we got back together and I told my ex-husband I wanted to sing, he looked at me like I was crazy. Everybody, I got no love in Columbus, Ohio about no singing, because that wasn't our makeup like back then. Like, cause Columbus has always been very conservative. You know, you go to work, you work your 9 to 5, you come home, take care of your kids, you watch, you know, all the popular TV shows, and then you get up the next morning and you do it again. And, you know, that was the thing. So for me to come back and saying, I want to be a singer, they looking at me like, get your head out the clouds, you know. But I was determined that I wanted to try. I don't know what it was. God put it in my spirit. So anyway, there was a talent show. They were asking for, I had recorded the songs, and I remember at this point I was in my 30s. And I remember before I even submitted the songs to this contest, well, I was about to, let me put that. I was about to submit my music to Atlanta. And I just, then all of a sudden this feeling of, you know, I don't know. I think my little sister, my baby sister who passed away, she was teasing me. You know, little sisters is just as mean as hell. And I was playing this song, and she was like, what you think you gonna do, sing? Ha, ha, ha. She laughed like that. She just thought it was the funniest thing. Little sisters are so good. Anybody who got a little sister who get on their nerves, you understand. My baby sister was one of them. She honoring as hell. So after she said that, it was like, I was just like, it's like I went back into my shell. And I said, God, I'm too old. You know, I'm 30 years old. You know, all the people who are doing music and doing stuff, they're in their teens and they're in their 20s. And here I am 30. So I went back into my shell. I never submitted the music to Atlanta. And I just went back to thinking that, back to my old way, like I'm not going to do this. But I ended up moving, but the energy, when I moved to Atlanta, the energy in Atlanta makes you don't have no choice. If you got a gift and you live in Atlanta, that gift is going to want to come out. there's something about the energy in Atlanta that is so freaking creative. It supports the creativeness in you. Whatever that creative niche, that creative whatever it is that's in your soul, when you're in that, and when you're in Atlanta, at least it is for me. When you're in Atlanta, it's something about the energy. The energy in Atlanta is so freaking ooh, and it just it yanks it out of you, even if you're trying to hide it. So in Atlanta, I got up the nerve again. At this point, I done had all of my children except for the youngest, except for the 15-year-old. So, but I was with a man who did not believe in me. See, that's the worst. Baby. It's enough for your friends to not believe in you, and maybe even certain family members. But when the person that you breaking bread with, living with, loving, you know, having sex with, whatever, when that person doesn't believe in you, that's like a whole new level. When that person who you live with, your spouse, your significant other, your boyfriend, that person you look up to, you trust, you when that person says it's not possible, that makes you just be like, you know what? Sometimes it's hard to overcome. So anyway, I was with a man who, he felt like I could sing, but he didn't see the vision. Couldn't see the vision. Too old. You too this. You too that. You see all these people out here. You see all these celebrities. You understand? They started when they was young. You see all these celebrities. They had connections. You know what I'm saying? They got real talent. What makes you think you gonna make it? Look at you. You know, I felt like Silly in The Color Purple. You black, you're ugly, you ain't got nothing. You know what I'm saying? What makes you think you're gonna make it anywhere? That was that whole vibe. I remember going to, and then I was trying to decide. We were going to Vegas. He was going to go with me to Vegas, but he still didn't believe in me, you know. And I remember asking him, should I sing over the track or should I sing regular? He was just like, you know, oh, sing over the track, you know. And I still didn't have that confidence anyway. So went to Vegas, sung over the track. It didn't, you know, it's never as when you're trying to go for an audition for something, you want to come with your A game. Singing over the track is cool for the little local spot, whatever. But when you really want to seriously do something, they want to hear your real voice. They want to see how you sound. So obviously, I bombed out, right? But when I came out, I had the opportunity to network with, you know, different producers and stuff who were still interested in me, even if they didn't get to hear all that they wanted to hear. But the person I was with, who never believed in me, was just like, come on, we ain't got time for this. I'm like, well, wait a minute. I want to, you know, I want to get with them. No, you should have had your stuff together. See, if it was me, I would have had my stuff together. I would have had this. I'm like, he immediately, in front of these people, he started putting me down and telling me how unorganized I was, how this, that, and the other. And he never let me go to the networking party that they had afterward. He wanted to go see some stupid ass, you know, ballerinas flying around in the sky. Not to say y'all stupid. Because that's I can't do it. But I'm just saying, he crushed you. So once again, I went in my shell. And I just was like, God, I'm too old. I'm too old. You know, the women that are coming out now, they're so beautiful, that flowing hair, light skin, pretty, waist about this big. How do you get a waist that big? You know? But then God started feeding my spirit. The Holy Spirit. That's why you go. Once you pray and you meditate, you got to listen to the voice within. So God just started speaking to my spirit, you know, through what I can hear, through what I can see, through, you know, words, other people, just stuff. So God's timing is not your timing. God's ways are not your ways. If God said, like if I remember KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken Man, from what I understand, he didn't become KFC till he was in his 60s. He was 60 something, from what I understand, somewhere around in there. He wasn't no 19-year-old. He wasn't no 18-year-old. He wasn't no 20-year-old. You know. If so, back to what I'm saying. God's timing is not our time. We look at the clock and we say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You know. Or we look at the calendar months because it's the only way that we can figure out what's going on in the world. So we have to have something. Man had to make something so he could keep up with the times and whatever. But that's not God's way. So we look at a calendar and we say January, February, March, April, May, June, July. You know, we look at the years and say, okay, I was born in '69. You know, so that means that this year, you know, I'm 52. You know, 69. You know, because it's 2020. Like we look at that, but that's not God's way. And so I asked Kenny. I said, Kenny, does the sun rise at the same exact time every day? And you know, like, how do they know the sun gonna rise at, you know? And he said, no, it changes. It changes because that's man-made time putting on when it's gonna come up. But God raises the sun every morning at the perfect time. Perfect time. God's ways are not our ways. God's timing is not our timing. So throughout my life, every time, even when I got ready to do Superwoman for the first time, when I got ready to perform it, I was dating a guy. And the same, I don't know what it is about the men in my life. Kenny is probably the first man in my life who has truly supported me in my endeavors. I don't know why I attract men who don't believe in what the fuck I be doing. Excuse my French. Anyway, he was just like, I was about to start doing Superwoman through coast to coast. You know, I went to Miami and Chicago. Oh, I was already in Chicago at the time. This is when I was living in Chicago. But I did it in Atlanta, and Miami, and New York, and California. And all. I was rolling. I was Superwoman. It was fun, too. I had so much fun. Because at this point, I had built up that courage. You know, when I got with Mr. Hankey, and he produced those 3 tracks, I just decided I'm going to do it. You know, God put in my spirit, like, God's timing is not your timing. Like, if God says it's time, it don't matter how old you are. Don't matter what you look like. Doesn't matter. If God put a vision or something in your spirit and said, I want this done, but things have not lined up and the years have been rolling, but things still have not lined up. At some point, they line up and you're like, wow. Because it's going to happen at the perfect time. Just like the rising of the sun. So I'm getting ready for to do Superwoman or whatever, this tour. And the man, he couldn't keep a grip on where I was going because I'm independent. Like, let me be me, leave me alone. You know, we ain't married. Where the ring at? But he just kept putting me. You know, he wanted to put me down. Like, you can't do it. You're not gonna be able to make it. You know, look how old you are. Yeah, look how the beautiful women. They got connections. They got power. They got this. They got money. They got. Like, man, go somewhere. You already know you ain't husband material. But at that point, I had been working with Mr. Hankey, and I had released them those. We had made those 3 songs, or he had sent me those 3 beats, and I was just determined I was gonna do it. I had started working with the artists at this time, and the artists didn't ever want to listen to me. You know, y'all artists, y'all work my nerves. Artists do not like to listen. And I was thinking about being a manager. That was too much. So I was just like, why am I investing all this energy all into them when I have a talent too? Like, I can sing. You know, so I finally came to grips with that, and I was determined I was going to do it no matter what. I didn't give a darn if I was 40. I didn't care. I just felt like, you know what? I'm gonna go down trying. When they put me in that casket, they're not gonna be able to say Patricia was so this and that, but she never could really just do it. God bless her soul. No, they're not gonna say that. What they're gonna say to me is, Patricia didn't worry about fame and fortune or whatever. She just did what her heart wanted to do. She had this checklist of things that she wanted to do, and conquering fear was one of them. This is about a childhood dream This is about a little girl praying. This is about conquering my fear and not worrying about what nobody thinks. I went through too many years of my life worrying about what people thought about me, you know? Went through too many years of my life ashamed because I was so dark and everybody picked on me. Went through too many years of my life being ashamed because of what I had gone through as a child and being scared to put on bathing suits because I didn't want people to see my scars. And I went through too many years of that. I went too many years. I was done with that. Open Doors was actually one of those three songs that Mr. Hankey sent me. One of those three beats. Good morning, Melanie. Your daughters are so beautiful. I'm so proud, Melanie, to watch them grow up. They were in This Can't Be Love, and to know that they decided to move on into the entertainment thing and do their things. And I watched your daughter sing beautiful. Oh, and they still remember me. Oh my gosh, they were babies back then. See, that's how long it took. Break from the conversation, and let me just jump to this. This Can't Be Love took us what 7 years to film. Took 8 years to put it out, or 9 or 10 or something. I know that we started filming in 2010. I think, yeah. I think we started, or was it 2009? I don't know, it was somewhere. But anyway, all the children were babies. My children were babies. Joshua at that point was probably 2. Isaiah was probably about like 7 or 8. Her babies were babies. Like we literally in the filming of this movie, the children grew up. So the progression of age was natural. And just to see them now and knowing that they're doing, that I was one of the first to introduce them to that, and that ended up being something that they love and they're doing it so well, it just makes me feel so proud. You should feel so proud, you and your husband. You did an awesome job with your girls. Awesome job. But back to the story. So Mr. Hank, Open Doors came from Mr. Hankey. Mr. Hankey did 3. He sent me 3 beats. I was living right on, and for people who are in Chicago, I was living right there in that one of those houses on Cicero and Jackson. I had just moved there. My friend's best friend owned the building, so she let us rent out the top thing. And I had just moved there, so we really didn't even have that much furniture or nothing. And I remember at that point reaching out to him and him sending me, us doing our little agreement for the 3 beats. And I was determined I was going to make a song for each one of the beats. And I did. And all 3 of them were it's like God sent them specifically for me through him. Because as soon as I heard Superwoman, I knew that was Superwoman. Like the lyrics just came. Like as soon as I heard, and he sent it to me, he said, "Here's your hit." And I remember listening to it, and I'm like, boom, Superwoman. Every Superwoman needs her Superman. Because I'd have had so many brothers who wasn't Superman. They ain't support me at all. So I needed a Superman. Shit. I needed one. And then Open Doors. As soon as I heard it, I knew it had to be about music. As soon as I heard the beat, I said, I remember I had written a poem about the love of music. And so when I heard the beat, I knew that it had to be something that dealt with the love of music. And the beat was just so, the words just came. And same way, it's just not fair. Just not fair. I wrote because I always promised myself that when I finally released the 16-year relationship that did so much damage to my mind and my spirit, that I was going to write a song about it. So that's where that came from. So anyway, I was determined that I was going to do it no matter what. It didn't matter. It wasn't about money. It wasn't about fame. It wasn't about none of that. But Open Doors, the night that I was supposed to perform that song, I wasn't even going to do it. Because the cameraman, who I felt like was sent to sabotage my event, because Chicagoans are like that, it was so crazy, I wasn't even going to perform the song. I wasn't going to do it. It was literally a last-minute faith move. Literally. I was just like, you know what? I'm already up here. He already jacked up. He high. Somebody gonna have to pick the cameraman up off the floor and help him somewhere because he ain't about nothing. I was just like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and perform this song anyway. So I ended up performing the song for Open Doors. The night was crazy. It was supposed to be a Superwoman music video event. That's what it was supposed to be. But nothing worked out right. It was like the enemy, unknown, seen and unseen. The whole point was to destroy that, to stop that. Didn't want it to happen. From the music, the music having issues with the speakers, to the cameraman being tore up, to just so much stuff. It was like it was as if the forces, unseen forces, were using people to sabotage that. So once again, because I knew the footage wasn't good and all that kind of stuff, I held on to it. Once I finally got it from him, because he tried to steal it. Here I go back into this shell. Like, who's gonna pay attention to me? You know, I'm older now. You know, but God just kept telling me. And I remember specifically, God speaking to me. I'm telling, and I know you have to probably think I'm crazy, but I'm not. I'm not crazy. I am just very intuitive, and I can hear. Doesn't mean I'm perfect. Doesn't mean I don't make mistakes. Doesn't mean I don't sin. Doesn't mean I'm trying to say I'm some prophet from wherever, or some religious fanatic. I'm none of that. But I can just hear. I can hear things. There's certain things, my dreams, God shows me things. I hear things. Maybe that's because I'm a Pisces. I don't know. But I remember hearing. This is back in, before I released the music video or anything. Before I even started performing. When Mr. Hanky was still mixing up the beat for Superwoman. And God told me then. God said, Superwoman is going to be successful. I promise you, I'm not lying. God said, Superwoman is going to be successful. But it's Open Doors that's going to change your life. I remember hearing that. But Superwoman did so good, and I just knew that was going to be the thing. But it just never, people love that song. People still love that song. But it never made it to 75,000 views on Facebook. It never made it that far. It never, I never, the love, people tell me that they love that song, and I think it's because of the time that we're in. But still going back, I held on to, I released Open Doors, but I never made a music video with it. I never did none of that. I think it was the visuals that helped people. But I never put it, I held it. Why? Because I had went back in that shell. You know? I'm like, the song is old now, you know. In my mind, it's old. At that point, that's what I was thinking. That's why I always tell artists, if you have a song, right, and your family, your friends, you know, people have heard it. You did it 10 years ago, people have heard it. You put it on YouTube, it got 100 views. Okay, that's good. But it's still new, because the world has not heard it. There are millions of people in the world. So if you only got 100 views or 113 views, but everybody who hears that song loves it, keep rocking it. Invest in that song, because the world hasn't heard it. It's new. It's old to you, because you're the only one that heard it. It's old to your friends and family, because they're the only ones that heard it. But what about the rest of the world? I hope ain't nothing biting me. All right, bye. So anyway. I feel like somebody's crawling on my back. I am not loving it. You know, that's the thing about nature down there. You got all them little bugs and stuff. I'm probably, it is something back there. Yeah. Mosquito or something. Okay. Let me move up, because I ain't going to be able to do that. And mosquitoes and stuff. I can't do that. So, I held on to the music. I held on to it. You know, I felt like one side of me was saying, Patricia, you're too old. I can hear the echoes of all the people who told me, you're too old, it's too late, you don't sound good enough, your voice is too soft, you this, you that, you're too fat, you're too black, you're not cute enough, that's not what people are looking for, that's old fashioned. I kept hearing all those negative words on this side. But on this side, all I heard was, trust God. This side, you don't have the money, you don't have the investment. How you gonna push it? How people gonna find it? How people gonna know? People spend thousands and thousands of dollars. Nobody is gonna pay attention to you because you're too old. You don't have the money. You don't have the resource. You don't have the connections. You don't have the time. You're not cute enough. You're not skinny enough. You're not light enough. Your hair not long enough. All that right here. But on this side, I just kept hearing in that still small voice, trust God. So here, I'm back home. I done went through so many trials and tribulations, God knows. So I understand. My heart goes out to everyone. First of all, let me say this. Let me take a pause and say, my heart goes out to everyone who has lost a loved one. Because once again, we don't understand. We don't understand this life. We only see what we see and know what we know. And what we can hear. We don't understand, about the timing and everyone's journey. So it doesn't matter if their journey was supposed to be on earth was only supposed to be for a month in a baby's body or 120 years in an older person's body. The point is that person is no longer there, and we mourn for that. So my heart goes out to everyone who has lost a loved one through COVID or whatever the situation is. However they've lost them, my heart goes out because I know that loss. I know that pain. When my baby sister died, I know that pain. But I know she's with us in spirit. I know that God, that was her timing. Because we don't understand God's timing. Just like the rising and falling of the sun. We put our time on it. But God's timing is perfect timing. So, I'm glad that Kenny entered my life because he was someone who, unlike all the other, people that I have been close to, dated or whatever. It's not like I've been millions of people, of course not. But, because I was married twice and long-term relationships or whatever, but he was the first one to come in and say, you know what, I believe in you. And I'm going to support you. And I got your back. I've been doing this too. Went through my storms too, so let's do this together. I got you. He believed in me, which was completely different, and helped to give me the encouragement, because I support other people all the time. Hello, Al. Good morning. Al Lindsay is actually going to be on our show too, on the Move Unscripted. Yeah. I'm looking. I'm sorry, and my thing is about to go dead soon, so let me wrap this story up real quick. I've been supporting other people, artists, authors, people all my whole career. But at this point in God has said it's my time, because this song is something that people need to hear. This is a time when people need to know that doors are open. It doesn't matter what's going on in the world and how bad things look. If God said it's your time, it's your time. It doesn't matter if you're fat, if you're skinny, if you're old, if you're ugly, if you're cute, if you're white, you're green, you're black, you're all the stuff, all the negative people, all the people, the family who won't support you, the friends who shun you, all that kind of stuff. None of that matters when God says it's your time. Because remember, His timing is not your timing. The family then came home, so that's another sign it's time for me to get up off of here. Because in a minute, they're going to be coming outside. But, Can y'all hear that? You gotta believe. You gotta believe. Can you feel that music? That hanky beat? Let the music cruise through your body till it reaches you. Even putting together that video, God did that. I am not that skilled. It's like I was just putting stuff together and I don't even know. I don't know. I just let me put this here, let me put that. It was just, God is all in this project. So when God says it's time, doesn't matter who doesn't support you. Doesn't matter who don't believe in you. Doesn't matter how many negative people said you can't do it. Doesn't matter how big you are, short you are, fat you are, smart. It don't matter. You won't succeed. They said that music thing. You won't succeed. But I ain't listening. Took me a long time, but I ain't listening. For you, if you believe. Oh, snap. I'm sorry. Baby, you gotta believe. So when you get out of your low self-esteem, your low vibrational energy, when you get out of that and you start to realizing that you are a king and a queen and that you were sent here for a purpose and a reason, and whatever that purpose and reason is, it's going to be fulfilled, and it's not about time. Take your eyes off the clock, take your eyes off the calendar, and trust God. That hanky beat. Amen. The window we see is so small. Yes, because God's plan is so much bigger. Thank you. You know what? I love you. I love you so much. I swear to goodness. Lord, you always inspire me and encourage me yourself. You encourage me to be encouraging. But these bugs is getting me, y'all. I ain't gonna be able to do this. I gotta go. Anyway, have a beautiful day. Whatever that dream is, whatever that vision is, whatever that dream is, then your passion, whatever it is that God has put into your spirit, I don't give a darn how old you are. It's never too late. The only person who can stop you from doing what you want to do, as long as you're still walking and breathing and God said your time ain't up yet, the only one that's stopping you from doing that is you. Peace and love.